think a beauty standard does exist in our society for women especially. And I think it's evident in magazines and advertisements on TV. It's everywhere.
There's definitely a sense that you should look your healthiest. And by healthiest, most people mean thinnest, tannest, most fit. And I really have a problem with a lot of those ideals.
I mean, if you look at like the average American woman, she's 5'4" and weighs 140 pounds, but the average model is 5'11" and weighs 117 pounds. So there's obviously something wrong with that. Like that can't be right. That can't be healthy.
I think actually the whole world's adopted our beauty standard, which is being very skinny, among other things.
It gives greater beauty to those who are white.
I believe that what's considered beautiful within our society is the idea of the white, thin, usually blonde-haired, although occasionally brown-haired, but essentially the white, thin model standard.
Thin and athletic, feminine.
I think beautiful is considered thin and tan.
What is considered beautiful is thin, is tan, is
skinny, long, beautiful, flowy hair, blue eyes, tall, big boobs, nice butt.
Just looking beautiful all the time.
I think it exists, but it is less rigid as the beauty standards set in the rest of the world. I think that coming from high school, I used to straighten my hair every day, and I used to try to look like this one group of girls that essentially ruled my high school. And now I feel a lot less pressure to look like anyone else, and I think that's in part due to the huge spectrum of individuality here at Scripps.
In some ways, I think there's a beauty standard at Scripps. I think if there is one, it would be to look feminine and put together most of the time, and it's kind of like this underlying thing throughout campus. It's not something that's stated outright.
I think a beauty standard exists everywhere. I don't think that it's as prevalent here in my experience, and that there's a far more varied view of it. But I think that it'd be pretty hard to find a place where there wasn't a beauty standard.
I think that there is a huge beauty standard that exists at Scripps. I feel it daily, and I think a lot of people do.
I think some girls care more than others. Some care not at all. And then others you'll see in high heels at 8 in the morning, and you wonder how that was possible.
Actually, before coming to Scripps, I never wore sundresses. And it was like one of the first things I bought when I was here was like 3 sundresses.
I remember coming to campus for the first time and being really intimidated just by the sheer number of beautiful people on this campus.
I remember when I first got here as a freshman feeling like there were a lot of beautiful people.
I apply makeup daily if I remember. There's been a couple of occasions in which I forget and I go out, and I don't feel uncomfortable with that makeup, but I definitely like having a little edge on the look.
Yeah, yes I do. I can't remember. Actually, I went to brunch this morning with no makeup on, but I didn't meet anyone. I sat by myself and I read a book and I held it like this, and then I came back to my dorm and showered and put on makeup, and then I went out into the real world. So yes, I do, unfortunately.
No, I don't wear makeup. The only makeup I ever wear is stage makeup.
No, I do not apply makeup daily. I am too lazy. And I also feel like if I wore makeup every day, people would start to recognize me differently, and that if I didn't wear makeup, then I would look like worse than I normally do, and I don't like that idea, so I just avoid it altogether.
I do apply makeup daily. That is one thing that I've always had problems with. I feel so naked if I do not put on my makeup and go out with it.
Oh god, I hated those. They're horrible. But I prefer not to have those and not see it. When I eat, I don't want to know how many calories I'm consuming. So.
I thought they were good for like people, I guess, who need to watch calories, like athletes or something, but overall I thought they put a lot of pressure on people. I don't know.
I think the placards at Scripps, it's a good idea to have them, but I never really pay any attention to them.
It's kind of like a self-conscious thing, like then you look at it and you realize how many calories are in something or how much fat is in something, and then it's like second guessing what you should or should not eat. So I think it has an influence over a lot of people, and I think at times for me too.
It said that the stir fry I was getting had 53 grams of fat, so I never again have looked.
I think my problem mostly with the placards was the way that people reacted to them, because they felt that like it definitely felt like the dining hall became more judgy because you knew how much exactly fat or carbohydrates were in the food, and so it's like, oh, well, that's too big a serving, you know, like that type of emotional response. So like I said, I don't really necessarily, there's nothing wrong with putting down the facts, it's really how people treat those facts and then twist them.
I think initially I did, especially my freshman year. I noticed that I didn't have as many dresses as many of my peers, and I don't know if that was just something I noticed or felt, but I definitely in the beginning felt a need to be very feminine looking, and with the dresses especially, but I don't know, I think because it's a women's college, we're really comfortable with one another and around one another, so at the same time, it's like accepting of what we choose to wear.
As far as like going out and on the weekends and social events, I do feel a fair amount of pressure, just because like when you go to like an event at CMC and every girl is wearing a short skirt or a short dress, like I feel like out of place if I wear jeans and a t-shirt.
I guess I feel less pressure because I feel so comfortable here and at home, and you know, in my dorm I'm not surrounded by boys or anything, so I don't really have to be conscious of that. But at the same time, I guess you could say there's more competition because you really have to get out there to meet people of the opposite sex.
I definitely say less pressure. I feel that I'm not as scrutinized here, or that I don't have the same judgment placed on me as I would in other places.
Ironically, I feel less pressure to look a certain way, knowing that that Scripps is a women's college, because a lot of the pressure I got in high school to look good came from girls, and I think that those girls acted that way because they were in the presence of boys, but I think now that boys are out of the picture, girls are a lot nicer to each other. So I feel less pressure being at Scripps.
I think I feel more pressure in a very bizarre kind of way to look a certain way, because Scripps is so predominantly beautiful, young, thin, you know, gorgeously tan because we're in Southern California women, and I find that difficult, and I find it difficult because while walking around the dining hall, like, I do feel judged for being my size, for, heaven forbid, oh my god, she's fat, so why is she eating ice cream? Like, I think that there's definitely a sense at Scripps of, like, we're trying to promote women's health, but it's not so much mental health, it's physical health. I think that we live in an extremely superficial society, and I think that a lot of women buy into that. There's this judging of not being a healthy person. So, yeah, I find Scripps kind of a judgmental place.